Welcome and welcome back, everybody, to the OK Grognard Show. It is Monday, February 28th, 2022, 10 a.m. Central ish, in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Yeah, it's a little bit after 10. We're not we're not on the clock and getting paid. We're just doing this for fun. So if I'm a few minutes late, I guess that's just how it is. In any event, it's a beautiful day. It looks like it's going to be a nice week here in Wisconsin with the weather stabilizing somewhere in the high 30s, low 40s most of the week. Probably see some melt off of what's been building up, and hopefully we won't get too much ice at night after it gets cold. We will see. We're taking a look today at the Dungeon Master's Guide First Edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons section on starting level of experience for player characters. I think we folded this into a larger video sometime in the first season, first year, but this time we're going to isolate on it and just take it as its own little chunk and see how that goes. Anyway, welcome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking out the video, whether you're checking it out here on Twitch as we're doing it live, or if you are checking it out on YouTube as an archived video of that live stream. Appreciate it very much. Be sure to follow the Twitch channel or subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click the little bell over there. That way you get notifications when new videos are uploaded or there are any updates or news. And of course, give a thumbs up if you like and enjoy the content, because it's good to get a little feedback here and there, and comments are always welcome, whether they're about the subject itself, about the show in general, about procedural things. I don't care. It's always nice to have them. Don't forget, Gary Con coming up at the end of March, 23rd to 26th, I believe. We'll do a show on that sometime in the next couple of weeks and focus in on what I'm running, what I'm playing in, what I'm looking forward to, some of the guests that'll be there. If you're local, you know it's at the Grand Geneva, and it's a hoot. I'm not sure if they're capping admission. I don't believe they've done that. I think that just a lot of people, vulnerable people, who won't be there, so it'll be a little smaller than it could be. Certainly a little smaller than it was hoped to be. 2 years ago, the first year, it decided just to be virtual. And of course, last year also just virtual. This year, a virtual component for those who wish to not risk close quarters with other people. There are still some definite dangers to that with regard to the virus and variants thereof. So do what's best for you, for sure. Absolutely. Got this OSR shirt on today. You know, I'm trying to remember where I picked it up, but if you see this out in the wild, grab one. They're comfortable, and they're definitely not poorly made. They're quality shirts. They're not the heavy duty ones. I'm not sure if you can even get those, but it's just a regular old T-shirt, but it's a well-made one and it's comfortable. And I love the choice of fonts on that. So if and when I can find a place that has these, I will put a link in the show notes. So thank you very much. If I won't be making any money off it, that's not the point to it. Today. Hey, let's pop on over and check out starting level of experience for player characters. It's not a long section. I've got a few comments to make on it, but straight up, it is saying, as a general rule, the greatest thrill for any neophyte player will be the first adventure when he or she doesn't have any real idea of what is happening, how powerful any encountered monster is, or what rewards will be gained from the adventure. This assumes survival, and you should gear your dungeon to accommodate first level players. If your campaign has a mixture of experienced and inexperienced players, you should arrange for the two groups to adventure separately, possibly in separate dungeons at first. Allow the novice players to learn for themselves, and give experienced players tougher situations to face, for they already understand most of what is happening. Quite unlike true first level adventurers of the would be sort, were such persons actually to exist. So, Gary makes a good point. There is a thrill to the first time you play Dungeons and Dragons or any RPG where you immerse yourself in a new character, not just new to you, but new to the game, and you bring your new ideas. Maybe you've heard a few things. Maybe you know a few things from stories other people have told about the games they've played. So you have some sense of it. Otherwise, why would you try it, right? Something about it has intrigued you and drawn you to the activity of hobby gaming in an RPG, a role-playing game. So here you are checking it out, and oh, good, that's fun stuff, but it's all fresh and new. And much like your character, who may have heard some things and so decided to go on an adventure, as encountering new things, just as you're encountering new things and dealing with them in ways you suspect can be correct, but maybe you're nervous or not. And that's okay. All of that is part of the thrill of playing for the first time. And if you're a first time player amongst a bunch of veteran players, you may not have the same experience. So I envy those people that have a chance to play for the first time with just other players who are also first timers, because as a group, finding that collectively, uh, good to have an experienced DM, maybe, not necessarily. Your DM will have read a bunch of stuff in advance and know what's going on, so they are experienced after a fashion. But what a thrill to be players all at the first time. Back in the day, shall I say, we were all first time players at one point or another. So there you go. Let's read on a little bit. If you have an existing campaign, and remember this is the Dungeon Master's Guide, so it's geared toward the DM, the conversational tone of it notwithstanding. If you have an existing campaign with the majority of the players being already above first level, it might be better to allow a few newcomers to begin at second level or even third or fourth in order to give them a survival chance when the group sets off for some lower dungeon level. I do not, Gary says, I do not personally favor granting unearned experience levels, except in extreme circumstances, such as just mentioned, for it tends to rob the new player of the real enjoyment he or she would normally feel upon actually gaining levels of experience by dint of cleverness, risk, Oxford comma, and hard fighting. So yeah, you know, if if you jump into a new game and they say, hey, don't worry about those early levels. We're just going to hand wave you up to second, third, fourth. We'll throw some equipment your way, maybe a magic item or two just to bring you on par with the other characters. When you've played for a long time, if something like that happens, you know, you've already done the early levels. You've played those hard Scrabble games where you're killing rats in the basement, as some people say, and collecting their pelts to trade them in for enough money to buy a better sword. But when you're new, if you just hand wave that stuff, it gives the impression that that is not an important part of the game. So be sure to emphasize that it is an important part of the game, and be sure to allow players to experience that if you can. And if you can't, and you have to move them forward or ahead of their normal starting position, then emphasize what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what they're missing, so that they at least understand that you're not downplaying those early levels, that you believe they are fun and important, especially to new players. I'll continue. It has been called to my attention, says Gary, that new players will sometimes become bored and discouraged with the struggle to advance in level of experience, for they do not have any actual comprehension of what it is like to be a powerful character of high level. In a well planned and well judged campaign, this is not too likely to happen. But the superior DM, says Gary, will have just enough treasure to whet the appetite of players while keeping them lean and hungry still. And always after that carrot is just ahead. After that carrot just ahead. So, yeah, keeping the carrot dangled in front of them, keeping them interested in what's coming in the future game, future campaign, is always an important part of play for keeping players interested and keeping characters moving forward. And one player's growing ennui can often be dissipated by rivalry, i.e., he or she fails to go on an adventure, and those who did play not only had an exciting time, but brought back a rich haul as well. So yeah, when somebody misses a game session and everybody else played anyway, because we can't not ever play if just one person is missing, then yeah, that can be just as much a carrot as an incentive to be there as often as possible. Thus, says Gary, in my opinion, a challenging campaign and careful refereeing should obviate the need for immediate bestowal of levels of experience to maintain interest in the game. However, whatever the circumstances, if some problem such as this exists, it has been further suggested that allowing relatively new players to participate in a modular campaign game, assuring new players of characters of higher level, would often whet their appetite for continued play at lower level, for they can then grasp what it will be like should they actually succeed in attaining proficiency on their own by working up their original characters and gaining high levels of experience. This reasoning seems sound, and provided there is a separation of the two campaigns and the one isn't begun until the new players have had some number of expeditions as first level characters, it is not destructive to the game as a whole. You can see the next section banner at the bottom there. So that ends this section. I will say this. It can be fun for newer players to be thrown in the deep end for like a one-shot, given pre-generated characters, told to give it a try, have some fun. Everything's on the sheet. Will help with spells and with actions, and make sure that you play it with some skill that you may not actually bring to the table yourself, as a high level character would not be stumbling about and making as many mistakes, or they wouldn't have gotten a high level in the first place. But I see the point here. You're showing a little bit of something that is potentially in store for them. I like the idea to some degree, although maybe there can be some conceit imposed upon it to make it a little more interesting from the standpoint of the fact that these are players who are not actually that experienced. So if you were to say all of the characters that are here in this one shot are higher level. Uh-oh. I think we may have lost the feed here. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to finish this up here because it's still recording, and we won't worry about the live stream. I'll pop over there and tell people, sorry it went out, but they can catch the end of it on YouTube. And I'll just say the conceit you might have is, we'll say that the conceit you might have for the game is that all of the characters have amnesia. Somehow there's been a gas. They went into a room, there was a gas that took away their memories of who they actually were. And although they have all of these skills and abilities that they're kind of vaguely aware of, they're not really sure exactly how to use them. So then it becomes this feel your way through playing a high level character, even though you're a player who doesn't have a lot of experience in the game. And it's an interesting idea, right? Because does it excite players to then take their own character and advance that character through the ranks, through the levels, climbing the ladder? Hopefully it does. Hey Sarah, yeah, I'm still good. I don't know. Twitch did a glitchy thing. It seems to be okay now. We'll see. I'm still recording the feed, so we've got a show. It'll be in the can. It may or may not be clear that it showed up on Twitch. We'll see. But that's about it, really. That was a shorter section, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here too much. Those were the ideas I had regarding what he was saying about it. To sum up, new players, probably best start them at first level. If you've got some new players and some longer term players, if they're close in level, if the veteran players are only second or third level, maybe you just let the new players just play first level characters and find their way. Let the older, more experienced players characters protect them, make sure they come along. After all, when those first level characters become more powerful characters, they'll be a lot more help. So you do want to keep them alive. Don't be selfish. After all, you're playing as a group, and I'm a big fan of making sure that people do play as a group. In any event, thank you very much. Thank you, Sarah, for being here. Thanks, everybody. And I will just say, this has been the OK Grognard Show, looking at the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition Dungeon Master's Guide section on starting level of experience for player characters. It's been a beautiful day. The show streams live on Twitch each Monday at 10 a.m. or just soon thereafter. Then it's archived on YouTube. Thanks to our Patreon supporters. Links will be provided in the show notes. Tom Tullis of Fat Dragon Games, Rick Hershey of Fat Goblin Games, Carlos Lysing of Castle Entertainment, Heath Farndon of the NPD and D20, new Patreon supporter Dave O'Brien of 4 Quacks Games, and as always, Shane Bradley, DM extraordinaire. He is the one. Thanks again. This has been the OK Grognard Show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.